Destruction of the Caribbean Express in 8 seconds. The daily reality of the fight against drug trafficking. 8 seconds. That's exactly how long it took for a cartel boat to become another piece of real estate on the floor of the Caribbean Sea, where pirate ships have lain for centuries, going back to Columbus. 8 seconds is even less time than it takes to place an order at Starbucks. While some politician in Washington was debating strategic stability, down here in the southern waters, that stability was expressed in concrete numbers. Speed, 995 miles per hour, about 1,601 kilometers an hour. Mass, 108 pounds, about 49 kilograms. Turns out American democracy can fly too, and even faster than the speed of sound. Now let us look at those 8 seconds in detail. And of course, not at the speed of sound. October 13th, 2025, 9:58 local time, Caribbean Sea. Against a blue horizon, the heavy bass of rotor blades fills the air as an AH-1Z Viper attack helicopter streaks low. 15 minutes earlier, it had lifted off the deck of the amphibious assault ship USS Wasp, an old Marine Corps veteran used to sending everything into the sky, from tilt rotors and Vipers to the heavy AV-8B Harrier II attack jets and, more recently, the trendy F-35B Lightning II. On this otherwise calm morning, the call-up came from a colleague, a U.S. Navy Maritime Patrol and Reconnaissance aircraft, the P-8 Poseidon. For hours, it had been running circles at an altitude of 20,000 feet, about 6,096 meters, painstakingly sweeping the Caribbean with its sensors and radars. For good reason. Its invisible electromagnetic nets had caught a fish. The AN/APY-10 radar picked up a target, a high-speed contact about the size of a fishing boat, making approximately 45 knots, which is roughly 52 miles per hour, about 83 kilometers an hour, and heading north-northwest toward Puerto Rico. For an ordinary vessel, that speed is excessive. For a fishing boat, that course is too far from shore. For smugglers, it's perfect. The route's well known. The U.S. Coast Guard calls it the Caribbean Express. It's the primary drug smuggling corridor to the North American continent. Many bad actors seem to think this road leads straight to El Dorado. The Marines repeatedly show that their navigation is poor and it's a road to hell. The Poseidon's onboard computer, flashing a green window on its interface, generated a short message for the crew. Target type, high-speed vessel. Propulsion, twin Mercury 300 horsepower. Course, 345 degrees. Speed, 45 knots. Behavioral signature, smuggler pattern confirmed. In other words, the system told the crew exactly what they already understood at a glance. Smugglers. Poseidon relayed the information over the secure Link 16 network to the assault ship and to all other interested subscribers, including senior offices at the Pentagon. The gears of the military machine started turning immediately. Short orders went out. 1, 2, 3. And a Viper is already climbing off the USS Wasp's deck. 2 people are on board, the pilot and the co-pilot/gunner, abbreviated CPG. They'd received all necessary data. On both top owl helmet-mounted displays, a green readout lit up. Target bearing 345 degrees. Range 18 nautical miles. Closure 195 knots. TTR 0700. That meant they must fly almost north about the 11 o'clock heading. The target was 18 nautical miles away, about 20.7 statute miles or 33.3 kilometers. The closure rate was about 195 knots, roughly 224 miles per hour, about 361 kilometers an hour. The estimated time to the launch zone was 7 minutes. The pilot acknowledged receipt briefly and began the pre-launch checks. An important part of the ritual is assigning the PRF laser code for the laser designator, a kind of digital signature for the missile, a unique pulse sequence that the missile seeker looked for while ignoring all other signals. In this case, code 1113 was selected, and only this number can now be used to call the 8 AGM-114R Hellfire missiles hidden on the pylons along the helicopter's sides. Immediately after that, the co-pilot switched on the TSS, the electro-optical/infrared turret, which, having sniffed the air in a manner of speaking, detected something warm with 2 clearly defined hotspots. That something turned out to be a boat with 2 300-horsepower engines. The traffickers on board had no idea that at that very moment, their fate was being calculated. The auto-track system computed the optimal point of impact. The pilot selected the attack profile on the control panel, direct attack, impact fuse, LOBL. To the uninitiated, this may sound like a string of unconnected words and acronyms, so here's what they mean. Direct attack means a direct strike. The missile follows a short, almost straight trajectory toward the target, essentially a head-on flight, without climbing and diving from above. This profile is chosen against vulnerable, lightly protected targets, fiberglass boats, light vehicles, open warehouses. The advantage is the simplest, most predictable, and fastest trajectory with a good probability of striking the hull. Against armored targets, operators more often prefer another mode, top attack, in which the missile first climbs and then strikes from above where armor is weaker. An impact fuse is a sensor that detonates on physical contact with the target. Literally the same fraction of a second the missile touches the hull, with no delay and no attempt to punch through and detonate inside. The explosion occurs immediately upon contact. The mode is effective for maximizing destructive effect on a thin shell, for example, to breach the waterline of a wooden or fiberglass boat, cause instant water ingress, and ensure rapid sinking. LOBL, or lock on before launch, means the target is fully acquired and designated with the laser before the missile leaves the rail. The missile launches already knowing where to go with its route in its pocket. That reduces the risk that a maneuvering target will leave the weapon's line of sight during the first seconds of flight. Against fast maritime boats, LOBL is often preferable because it provides the greatest confidence and accuracy when reaction time is short. But the procedures are not finished yet. Inside the selected missile, the launch preparation begins. Laser gyros are brought to their design parameters. It's tempting to say the gyros spin up, but no, there are no rotating parts here. Instead, two laser beams run toward each other inside an optical channel. The entire optical system is cooled with liquid argon to minus 200 degrees Celsius, about minus 328 degrees Fahrenheit, to eliminate any thermal noise. Meanwhile, the onboard computer runs 147 diagnostic checks in a fraction of a second. Status green. The missile's ready to fire. Distance to the target is 3.5 miles, about 5.6 kilometers, an ideal range for the strike. The co-pilot switches the laser designator to continuous pulse mode. In a moment, the smugglers are washed in an infrared light invisible to them, modulated at the PRF code. At that instant, the American pilots, in effect, started the countdown on the smugglers' lives. It took almost 3 minutes of commentary to describe the missile preparation, but in reality, these actions happen at the speed of an F1 car screaming past the VIP stand, only instead of an engine roar, there are short, clipped calls between pilot and CPG. Weapons ready, laser code set, target acquired, then the radio traffic sends, weapons ready, awaiting permission to engage. The answer comes immediately. Viper 21, weapons free, you are cleared to open fire. Fire authorized, copy. Releasing, says the pilot, and at that instant, the CPG presses the red button. At 10:09 a.m., a long trail of fire appears under the pylon of one missile. It leaves the rail and, accelerating under roughly 12 G, drives toward the target. Now the numbers from the opening make sense. Speed 995 miles per hour and mass 108 pounds refer to the AGM-114 Hellfire missile headed for the contact. This is what engineers wrote formulas for and techs built parts to achieve. In direct attack mode, the Hellfire does not perform aerial acrobatics. It follows a nearly straight, precisely calculated trajectory. The autopilot immediately takes control and begins solving the classical interception problem, not by intuition, but by equations. Every 20 milliseconds, that is 50 times per second, the system recomputes the intercept point. Sensors feed numbers, the navigation unit fuses them into a solution, and control surfaces make micro-corrections. The key is to stay strictly on the laser beam like a hunting dog running a trail. The PRF 1113 signal glows from the boat like a beacon, and the missile locks onto it. At the very tip of the attack waits the FMU 139 fuse. It's waiting to strike. On the terminal approach, the missile breaks the sound barrier. The sudden rise in loading and aerodynamic turbulence makes the missile body vibrate, but its electronics don't flinch. Small control surfaces, canards, and tailplanes make millidegree adjustments to counter the buffet. Those tiny motions decide whether the warhead hits the waterline or misses. The physics at the end is simple and merciless. The missile converts speed into kinetic energy and drives into the target. Fractions of a second before contact, the autopilot locks the final attack point, approach angle, angular rate, and touch point on the hull. Contact. The FMU 139, a small cylinder, silently counted down the last fractions of a second, a millisecond to contact, microseconds to decide. It did not think. It measured pressure, deformation, an instantaneous spike in acceleration. In a single instant, its sensors agreed. Contact. An electrical circuit closed inside that cylinder. A pulse surged through it and fed a hot impulse to the tiny charge. The charge detonated, releasing all its heat into roughly 20 pounds of TNT, about 9 kilograms. That charge blew in a blinding white-blue flash, and a moment later, a blast wave rushed out, crushing everything in its path. For a fiberglass boat, that's equivalent to a hammer blow on a thin shell. The hull shatters instantly. In the center of the blast, there's a chaos of plastic shards, human remains, and churning water. The TSS infrared camera coldly records a sharp thermal spike followed by a gradual fade. The succinct radio report goes out. Neptune base, target destroyed. The helicopter makes a circle over the spot where the boat had just been. A few large fragments of engine cowling, half a seat, a scatter of small, unidentifiable debris, and rainbow-colored patches of fuel shimmering on the surface. No people are visible on the waves, no movement, no signs of distress, only widening ripples across the water. Viper 21, excellent work, return to base. Soon the blue horizon is pristine again, with only slow drifting white clouds. High above them, invisible from the surface, the P-8 Poseidon continues its circles. In distant offices, reports and press releases are already being drafted. From missile launch to target destruction, exactly 8 seconds have passed. Technically, the operation is complete. The target's neutralized, but in reality, questions remain. What are the rules of engagement in this sector? What legal and diplomatic consequences will follow? After all, the boat was destroyed in neutral waters without any inspection, solely because by every measurable parameter, size, speed, direction, it matched the profile of a smuggler vessel. And with 99% certainty, it truly was. But that one remaining percent still lingers. So is a nation justified in the name of saving thousands of its citizens from deadly synthetic drugs in acting this harshly? What do you think? Share your thoughts in the comments. Thank you for watching. We'll appreciate your like and subscription. See you again soon.